Greetings, everybody, and welcome for the return of the Midweek War. Apologies for the last couple of weeks, everyone. Working at a toy store and Thanksgiving does not for a good podcast make on Thursday nights. But we have come back in a big, bad way, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to talk Lucha Underground. We are here to talk a fuck ton of Lucha Underground. And with me is very special guest, executive producer of Lucha Underground, Eric Van Wagenen. How you doing, sir?
I am great. I would like to do my best Antonio Garza impression and say, welcome to La Guerra de Mediados de Semana.
Excellent. I'm sure Antonio
got
Garza.
that right.
I'm sure Antonio Garza will appreciate that. You do it a heck of a lot better than any of us.
I'm kind of sad he's not here, actually. I'm a Antonio Garza mark.
Well, I will be sure to let him know. He is on assignment.
Okay.
Doing something. We have him skulking around Boyle Heights to try and figure out what's going on.
He can just come in. We'll let him in anytime he wants to show up.
Well, I mean, there is an open door policy at the temple.
Yes.
We all know this.
All are welcome.
All right. So, I figure since we've been away the past couple weeks, we should start with Aztec Warfare because holy fuck, Aztec Warfare.
Yeah. Always a good show.
Oh, it was amazing. Like, you guys do the Royal Rumble right. You really do. Like, it's
the brainchild of Chris DeJoseph and Chris Roach. You know, they had that concept done. I think they always joke that they had Aztec Warfare mapped out 4 years before I ever called them to work on Lucha Underground.
Wow.
Yeah,
right.
they sit around and talk about what would make an awesome wrestling match just for fun. So they had a lot of ideas locked and loaded and ready to go once they got the gig.
Alrighty. Yeah, I thought Aztec Warfare was great, especially starting Matanza at number 1. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of called what would happen.
Really?
I kind of called it. I was watching. I'm like, Matanza's going to go out kind of early. I thought it would be a multitude of people taking him out, though. I didn't think it'd be just Ray. That was really surprising.
But there was everyone got they got their finishers in. It was a build. It was a build.
Yeah, I assume it was going to be like everyone gang piling on, like everyone used to do with the Big Show and Survivor Series.
Did you think Ray would be the put the final finish on him, or did you think that would come from someone else?
I thought there were a few people in my head. Ray was one of them. Azteca was another, because I didn't know if he was in the match or not. But Ray seemed like the easiest person to do it, especially given Dario's interesting history of way.
And Matanza ruined Ray's debut in Lucha Underground. So
wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, and it was an Aztec Warfare.
It was an Aztec Warfare too. It was Ray's first match in the temple, and he was taken out by Matanza. So, you know, we believe in justice, even if it takes a full calendar year to make that happen.
Well, that's great. I didn't even pick up on that at that point, but that's why we have you here for this insight that I missed, because I'm so blinded by look, flying ninja women.
I know. I thought we were just going to spend the whole time talking about that. I was so amped and ready, but yeah, let's go back and talk about it.
Well, the Black Lotus Triad debuting. Wow. Yeah. Definitely. That was something out of a Tarantino flick. Like Pentagon's just in there, and then he's surrounded. I thought it was the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad. I really did.
With no warning, really. I mean, you know, it kind of came out of nowhere. You know, we shot Aztec Warfare on Saturday, and then we shot the Gauntlet match on Sunday. So if you came to the temple on that weekend, boy, you got a good draw, because you got Aztec Warfare on Saturday, then you got the Johnny and Sexy Star match on I think that might have happened Saturday afternoon or first thing Sunday, and then you got the Gauntlet match at the end on Sunday. So that weekend was crazy.
Yeah, damn, that's a really good weekend of shows. And I thought it was kind of funny how it seemed like, I mean, this is this week's episode, but it seemed like the believers didn't know the names of the Black Lotus Triad, so they just started chanting Black Lotus Triad.
I know. God bless them. They try hard, don't they? It's great. Yeah, we knew there was no way for anyone to really know who they were because they hadn't been introduced individually yet. And so unless you heard Stryker saying it, there's kind of no way to know. But I mean, they were so cool. That was the whole origin of getting them involved with Lucha Underground kind of goes back to be sort of between season 1 and season 2. We'd kind of put the word out that we were looking for more females to sort of round out the roster. And we had signed Melissa Anderson, cheerleader Melissa, or Mariposa, and she works with the Stardom group. And I think it was October. It was probably right around a year ago. She called us, and then Marty Elias called and said, "Hey, there's a Stardom show coming to town," and it was in it was like in Hawaiian Gardens in LA, which is kind of like in the middle of nowhere. And they sort of let us know that there was this show, and there was a lot of female talent that was working that show, and that we should come out and see it. And so Chris DeJoseph went out on, I think, the Saturday show, and he called me Sunday morning, and he said, "I don't know what you're doing today, but there's a Sunday show. You need to go out there, meet Marty Elias out there. I just saw the greatest female wrestler I've ever seen." And he was like, and it was Io Shirai. And he goes, "Just top to bottom, there's so much talent on this Stardom show. You need to go see it." So I sort of canceled my plans, drove out to Hawaiian Gardens, or it was Huntington Gardens, or I don't know, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. And drove out there and sat with Marty, and we watched the entire Stardom show. And there was it was stacked. There was a lot of really talented women on that. And I just remember just passing out business cards like crazy. And then I saw Io, Mayu, and Kairi do their thing. And then somebody introduced me to them, the president or the owner of Stardom, this Mr. Ogawa. We had a nice conversation, and we just said, "Look, if there's any way we can line up so that they can come to Lucha Underground, we would happily accept them." And it worked. These girls work like crazy in Japan. They're booked like every weekend all over Japan. They work an insane amount. And it turned out that they said they were doing a show in Vegas in April, and they were coming to do, I think the Vegas show was like Tuesday, Wednesday. And I said, "Look, if there's any way you could come out the weekend before, we'll shoot a weekend there, and we'll get as much out of them as we possibly can." And so that's kind of how this whole thing came out. It was a long negotiation, but we had Rey Mysterio there. The three walk in and like raise the first person they see, and they completely start marking out and taking pictures. And they're like turned into complete fangirls there for a second. And so once they showed up and got the vibe and understood what was going on, they were so happy. And then we just kept trying to get them to stay quiet, because we didn't want it to get out that they were at the temple. But they started posting pictures in LA and of LA restaurants, and doing some funny Japanese girl things, going to bakeries and taking pictures of cookies and stuff like that.
Of course, yeah.
In a matter of moments, everybody knew. And so there was definitely a buzz in the temple. A lot of people knew that they were going to be there, and they were very excited, but they didn't know we'd given them names and what the angle was. And this was in April, and I think season 2 had just barely started airing, so nobody knew anything about any of this. So it was a complete surprise, but as typical Lucha Underground fans, they just kind of they play along, and they got into it.
That's one of my favorite things about Lucha, like the fans, like, because people who know, like, the fans have no idea what these stories are. They're just watching the matches, and they're like, the stories are being told in the ring for the most part, I'd say.
Yeah. And
you can kind of get what's going on. Like, if you're watching that gauntlet match, you're like, "Oh, Pentagon fucked up at some point." Like, I don't know what he did, but he fucked up.
Yeah, you can't really, like, there's nothing to really spoil in a weird sort of way, because you don't know the vignettes that are happening around the edges. So even if you think there's a tune-in factor where you're like, "I want to see if I guessed right," or let's see how they made sense of that match and why that match was even made. So spoilers always get out, and we don't like it when they get out, but it's inevitable. It's wrestling. You can't expect it. It's gonna happen. And so we just try to keep enough of the story to ourselves and kind of contained in our little universe to know that it's not going to ruin the shows for people if they know what the matchups are.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, we shot a lot of stuff out of order. We got to season 3. We have and there were some matches that were 8, 9, 10 months in advance. We could, we had a couple of instances where someone was hurt, and we couldn't really. We knew we needed a match in show 7, but we waited until we were shooting show 15 because we let them heal and then we just dropped it into show 7. So we completely confuse our fans on a regular basis, but 50% of them are so high when they get in there anyway that they don't really notice.
Yeah, I know. When our buddy Sorg was out there, Sorg and Alex Cars, they still haven't told me what matches they've seen because they don't know when it is in the season.
When I get a show every week to watch, like a first cut, and I've completely forgotten it. I've completely forgotten which match happened when, and I kind of, okay, and so it's all in a weird sort of way. It's really new for all of us too, because these matches that we're seeing that are on the air now were shot in April, so we've seen a lot of stuff since then. So it's hard to confuse, where we are story wise, but also when it took place in the shooting and where we are in the finishing process versus where we are in the airing process. So we're all a little confused when we watch Lucha Underground, but somehow it kind of all makes sense.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely comes together. Like the post-production you guys do with all the vignettes and everything is always just so much fun. It's one of my favorite things about Lucha.
And I think it's that's how we like to sort of say our creative differences is that we embrace the post-production process. And do you give up something by not being live? Of course you do. So you have to turn that negative into a positive, and you have to make the editing and the finishing and the polish and the color correction and the music editing and all the tricks that a live show can't do. We have to make that our strongest suit. We have to kick every show's ass so bad with the editing and the post-production and the finishing and the special effects and the sound design and all that other stuff that we take a negative and turn it into a positive. And I think that's sort of been our motivation in how we do the show. And we treat it more like a TV show than a live event.
Yeah, because and this past week they had you guys had the segment with Matanza punching the wall.
Yeah, that was cool, right?
That was amazing. But if that was done for a live crowd, it might come off kind of corny.
Totally.
But you get to put the right lighting on it. You get to put the right And was that the first time we've heard Matanza speak?
I think he said, what did he say, like war?
He might have said war once, but okay. But
yeah, that was the first time he said anything. And of course, when we're in the mix for that, we take it and we, Jeff Cobb doesn't have like this deep booming animalistic voice. He just sounds like any one of us, but so we take it and we drop in all the bass and we lower the pitch and we, echo it, and we do all the post-production tricks that make it feel like a movie and less like a live event.
Yeah, because when he just, because I remember seeing that image in the teaser for season 3, and I'm like, why are his hands bloody inside the cage? Like, did Dario throw? I thought for sure Dario had thrown
raw meat. Right?
No,
Masquerita Sagrada in there to chew him.
Not Masquerita. I was thinking, fuck, what's his name? Ricky Reyes.
Cortez. Yeah.
Cortez. I thought he had thrown Cortez in there.
That would have been a good guess.
When he found out, Cortez, you did this here.
I know it was you.
Now you have a new roommate.
The Gimp. Bring out the Gimp.
Yeah, I mean, and wasn't too far off because he did feed Cortez to Matanza. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true. Or Cisco got fed to him. Yeah.
Well, so, but he fed Cortez to him in the ring.
Oh yeah, that's right.
When it was Dario's choice.
And Pentagon. Yeah, poor Cortez Castro.
But all right, so Aztec Warfare, we got Sexy Star as the champion. How amazing was that in the temple to hear the reaction to that?
It was big. It was one of those things that, look, what you're getting into when you're shooting it. And it's sort of those things where it's like, well, this is something that we know people will be mad about, and we know some people will love it. And then we knew that she was only keeping it for a week. And we go, then the people that loved it in week 1 are going to be mad about it in week 2. And maybe the people that hated it in week 1 will be happy in week 2. I don't really know. I mean, we knew it was a bold thing. And we're sort of resigned ourselves to the fact that, don't ever play it safe. Mm-hmm. And, the marching orders that we got from Robert Rodriguez, and Skip and all the people that associate with, that are from the El Rey side. Look, we don't want you don't want you just replicating any other show. We want you being different. We want you taking risks. We want you trying new things. We want you doing the things that are going to be, sometimes controversial and sometimes, hated and sometimes beloved. And so, that's kind of our attitude, is that, as long as we're, trying to do things that make sense, even if they're not, we know they're going to be controversial, we're going to try it. We're going to try it in the best possible way. We're going to try to do it in the most convincing way. But I don't think any of us thought that, oh my God, 100% of the wrestling community is going to line up and pat us on the back. I don't think any of us thought that. I think we all said, hey, look, this is a bold choice, and it may get over, it may not, but why not swing big? So that's what we did.
Well, I mean, I know from our end on the Mayhem show, we all love Sexy Star, and that moment was amazing.
It was a really cool moment. There were people who were genuinely like so shocked that it went that way, that they were, they couldn't believe it. There was like people in tears. It was kind of like, there's been a few times where I've seen people in the audience like tearing up. Rey Mysterio showing up. That had a lot of some of the older Lucha Libre fans absolutely in tears, in the audience. There were some moments with Alberto Patron. There was when the first trios tournament.
I know. I teared up watching that episode.
There were people in the audience who did too. They just couldn't believe it. And the temple is an easy read. When you're sitting there and there's matches that I watch from the control room and matches that I watch out in the arena. And that was definitely a moment that I watched out in the arena, and I just wanted to feel the vibe. And look, people who were there, they bought it. They were into it. They loved it.
I remember you guys were able to find like a group of women that were just like, the entire match, you could read it on their faces. When Mill was beating Sexy Star up, they're like, oh no.
And what's funny is like that, we obviously we have like different groups that come. We get a lot of non-wrestling fans who come to these tapings. These tapings have sort of taken on a life of their own, and it's become kind of an underground, fun, cool thing to do. I mean, the city of Los Angeles put us in their tourism commercial, so it's
I've never seen that. Yeah, I remember seeing
that. So there is this kind of, you get this almost hipster, cool underground crowd that tries to show up and crash. They probably know nothing about wrestling. That particular group was a bachelorette party who one of the girls was married to one of our cameramen, and they were in LA having a bachelorette party, and this took place Saturday afternoon, and they said, hey, can we get VIP? And we got them drunk and gave them beers and shots of tequila and all that stuff, and they put them in the front row because hey, they were cute. They were a group of cute girls, and we're just like, hey, drop them in. It's sort of they would have had those seats whether it had been any other taping. It just so happens that it lined up there, and the camera woman who actually was in that section kept getting reactions from them. So it was not some grand plan to try to put central casting actresses in the first row and cut to them cheering on Sexy Star. Were those girls wrestling fans? No, but they were there because they wanted to. They heard it was a great taping, and they got tickets through a connection through one of the cameramen, and then they had a great time, and they bought it, and they're not even wrestling fans. So it was just one of the sort of strokes of luck that we had.
That was one of those things where, like, even if you don't know the story going in, you can tell what the story is because you have the Worldwide Underground trying to take out Sexy Star the whole time, like. And then you have her being left alone with this monster.
Yes, exactly. Then some skinny South African jumps off the rafters and takes out half the group. I mean, look, you don't have to be a wrestling fan to love that story and to be sucked into that match. And, it's supposed to be fun, right? I mean, I think a lot of people have sort of gone away from the fact, everybody watches wrestling, from such a critical point. The idea is to kind of lose yourself in it, even if it's just for a moment, and to buy it and have a good time with it. And we get that in the temple. I mean, we get true believers. That's what we call them, believers.
Yeah, I know. Like there are times when I'm watching Lucha, I'm doing my little live tweet. Like I just have to, I just tweet. I'm like, listen, probably not gonna be tweeting a lot because I'm just gonna sit and watch.
I like your tweets. I always look for the hashtag MM tweets because you always have funny things to say that make me laugh. So I'm always constantly on the lookout for the Mad Mike tweets.
I was trying to find a GIF last night when I was watching Lucha Underground of a scene in Ace Ventura When Nature Calls, when he has two darts in his arms, and Jim Carrey's like flailing around and his arms aren't working. I'm like, this is Pentagon Dark right now.
I would have popped for that. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't find the GIF. So I grabbed one from Futurama where both of Bender's arms fall off.
Right.
Like,
okay.
That's close enough. It's close enough.
The other one would have been better, but all right, we'll give you that one.
But so why was the decision to only have Sexy have it for a week? Is it just because Johnny and the Worldwide Underground have been so over the top with everything?
Well, the plan was always to give it to Johnny. The Worldwide Underground, we didn't need fan reaction to know that they were going to be the greatest heel faction in wrestling in a long time. Like, we were seeing it, in the tapings. Jack and PJ and Taya, like, they're just hilarious. I mean, I don't know, like
Jack Evans needs to be mic'd up for every match.
It's really funny, we talk about the matches that I would leave the control room for, and the ones that I don't think there's been a Jack Evans match that I've watched from the control room, because I just love the stuff he says, and half of it never makes the show, but to me it's so funny. And he's, in Mexico, he's a technico, he's a babyface. They don't use him as a heel in Mexico, so he's had years of bottled up Rudo in him that just needs to get out.
Well, I mean, they all kind of have, haven't they?
I think so.
Like Morrison in WWE was super babyface. Unless he was with the Miz and being a heel, like, he was super babyface.
And you can see why, because like the belief is, as a guy with that face and that body and that, the Mr. Perfect like that, like, you're never gonna boo. You're never going to get girls to boo a guy like that. Of course, they're going to cheer for him, but actually, it's kind of the reverse. Like, you hate him because he's so fucking perfect. You like, and when he starts being cocky and he's doing his shtick and the boots and the hair and everything, it's just so cheesy and horrible that he's a great heel. And as soon as we put those guys together and we started to see how they were working, like, you couldn't. It was just visceral. You hated these guys. We knew that was going to get over it, and we knew that really Johnny should get the belt at some point. We thought this was a good place to do it, but Johnny taking the belt away from Matanza wouldn't have made sense.
Oh no, definitely not, because he would have gotten cheered huge.
Exactly. So we knew there was going to be a transitional person, much like Phoenix was the transitional person. At the end of season, or was it the beginning of season? End of season 1. Was it the end of season 1? Yeah. And so, or 2. Was it 2? I don't remember.
No, season 1, and then. Oh no.
He beat Mill at Aztec War, or the week before Aztec Warfare in season 2. Phoenix only had it for a week.
Yeah.
People forget that, and so look, not every champion has a long run. That doesn't make him less of a champion. I mean, I'm a fan of boxing and MMA. There's a lot of guys who go out on the first title defense, but they still had the strap. They still had the championship, and people are going to question it and whatever. But it was at one point it was going to be a different way. But we had some injuries and things we had to work around, and there was a different story that was originally set up, and so we then switched it a couple weeks before to go this way. But it was never intended for long. It's not like, I hate that people thought, oh, we got scared and so we took it off for right away. That wasn't.
Yeah,
really the
I
case.
can't believe people even thought that, because I'm like, this has been in the can for months.
It was always the plan, and so it was we thought that Aztec Warfare would be a great finale if it went that way. But the plan was always to put the championship with Johnny Mundo, because his little group, his little faction is the hottest heels right now, and there's a lot that we can play off of that because we have so many, technicos that can now challenge the Worldwide Underground.
Yeah, and plus we could be leaning toward the Taya Sexy Star feud, which, yes, please.
there's a lot of places to go with it, and Taya had some. There were some things with Taya in this season that kind of took her out for a while. We used her as best we could sporadically through the season, we're all big Taya fans too. I mean, I saw Taya the same week in Mexico at Triple Mania 3 years ago, and as much as we all love Sexy Star, we love Taya too. It just took a little longer to get her paperwork and everything cleared for her to work for us.
And her matching her with Johnny was absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. Like,
yeah, that was
the same Johnny Mundo entrance. I lose my mind every time.
Yeah, we were sort of like we wanted to pick somebody who looked like the female version of Johnny, and when originally she was intended to be something else, and then the more we thought about it, and Chris and I talked a lot about this one, we ended up going with Taya because, like, you look at them, they look like, a garbage can always finds its lid, as you say. It's like they were the perfect Rudo combination. And what's ironic is they're like two of the nicest, most sweet people in our entire roster. You will not find two nicer people than Kira and Johnny. They're just the nicest people, but they just get that heel thing going, and they're really good at it.
Oh yeah, well, I saw Taya when I saw you at New York Comic Con. She just seems like the greatest person.
She's lovely. She's absolutely, and Johnny couldn't be nicer. He's like the nicest guy on the planet, and so it always feels really strange to see them getting all this heat. I mean, they love it. It's great, and they play the part that that they're meant to play. But off camera, they are so nice. It's almost sickening. They're like the perfect, beautiful couple.
Excellent. All right, so I've been dreading talking about this because Sorg has haunted my nightmares with this for months. We got the debut of the Rabbit Tribe.
Oh yeah, weird, right?
Yeah. Have you seen the pictures that Sorg has messaged me? Because he got to see the Rabbit Tribe in person.
And yeah, he did. That's right. I met him there.
Yeah, he began to Photoshop pictures of Saltador. That's the checkered one, right?
Mm-hmm.
He began to Photoshop pictures of Saltador behind me in certain pictures of mine.
I have not seen this.
Oh, yeah. No, Sorg has been taunting me with images of Saltador, and I finally got to see him, and he is terrifying.
He's hilarious. Like, that was another one that took a little while, and the beauty of having an edited show and a post-production show is that you don't have to if the Shockmaster comes out, you can reshoot it, and
you can put the Stormtrooper helmet back on.
And so, we went through a couple versions of the Rabbit Tribe until we landed on this one, and I love this. This part of it is so good. I mean, it's I'm a big Kubrick fan, and the homage to Clockwork Orange that's going on there. I'm sort of mixed with the Mad Hatter and whatever. I mean, like it just clicks, and I'm not saying who the other two are, but it's great that we find something. They were happy to have a new gimmick. I think.
Was it always Paul London in charge?
Always, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of figured he kind of fits the mold a little bit.
He's sort of he was kind of like the focus of it. It was always about how do we bring Paul London in. In fact, we tried at one time, we're attempting to bring him in at season 2. I mean, Paul has been an agent since partway through season 2. And Paul speaks fluent Spanish, and he can speak with the AAA guys, and he obviously can speak to the American wrestlers, and he's one of the guys like Vampiro and Chavo who understands how we want to hybrid lucha libre with more American style wrestling and where that line is. And Paul really got it quick, and we really liked Paul. And look, if Paul had just wanted to be an agent and never get back in the ring again, we would have been happy working with him for years. I mean, Paul's awesome. He's hilarious. Yeah. He fits, in our company. And, but I think that his bump card wasn't completely punched out yet. So, Chris and Matt came up with this, this little faction and the Rabbit Tribe. And we knew that there was this Rabbit Tribe that we had to build at some point, and we didn't know who we were going to build it around. And when Paul came in, he seemed like the obvious choice, but we just didn't quite find the right weird gimmick. And once we got into some really strange, drug-induced, go ask Alice kind of bizarre Jefferson Starship bullshit. Paul was our guy, and so the other pieces just kind of fit around him. But he is the center of that, and the Rabbit Tribe is I think going to be a fun group that you will see plenty of in season 3.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it definitely seemed like it. Now in season 2, one of our, I'd say, favorite feuds that was kind of like under the radar was the Killshot Mario the Moth stuff.
Yeah.
And now we have Killshot and Dante.
Yeah.
That match from last week was amazing.
That's just the opener.
Yeah, I'm sure. It seemed like it. Like, it seemed like the opening salvo, as it were.
Yeah. You will be very happy with the way this season plays out.
Is it going to be more insane than the Weapons of Mass Destruction match?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Emphatically, yes. Like, I won't ruin anything for you, but as awesome as that match was, and that match was fantastic. I mean, that was one of those the high points of the season where you look back and went, wow, that was crazy. I actually think that I hate promising stuff, because you find nobody's ever gonna, no two wrestling fans are ever gonna agree on anything. But I think that style wise, and I love Marty the Moth. He's one of my favorite people on the planet. The Killshot. There's something about the backstory between Killshot and Dante and the style that they both work in. That really lends itself to a much more organic match between the two of them. I mean, they really work off each other really well, and they play off each other's strengths, and they have that kind of athleticism. It's not big guy against smaller, flippier dude. It's like two guys that are equal almost on every aspect, and what you will see as the season progresses will blow people away. I really think it will blow people away.
That first match almost seemed like two longtime tag team partners that are feuding.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. And we haven't even seen the backs. I'm assuming we're going to hear more of Dante's backstory and how he, was left for dead and survived and all that stuff.
I won't ruin it.
I'm just hoping someone else brought him back from the dead. Maybe, I don't know that, but so speaking of bringing back from the dead, I'm not sure if I want to jump to Katrina somehow knowing Jeremiah.
Weird.
Because that was very intriguing. Or Vampiro being super Vampiro and bringing back Puma from the dead.
You tell me. I mean,
they're both amazing. This past week's episode, I love that it was only one match technically because it was the gauntlet, but each segment was broken up by an amazing backstage skit.
Yeah, and you're right. Yes, it was. It definitely. Sometimes we get lucky. Originally, that episode was supposed to just be wrestling, and we, the pace of the matches with Pentagon was a lot faster than we were expecting to happen. And and I'm probably blowing my Malo and my Bueno and my my Cambio, but I, looking back on it, I wish we'd given them more time for the matches, the three women, because when we got in the edit bay, it's the only show that we've done all season that came in short. The first time we looked at it, we're like, and so there's like barely. I think those are probably the three most untouched matches in the history of Lucha Underground. I mean, basically they ran start to finish.
Wow.
And with very little editing, because we were a little under time for that episode. And so we actually moved a couple vignettes that were going to be in the previous show and then the preceding show, and then the next episode, we moved them into that. And when we looked at it, we were like, oh, well, no, this is better. This is much better this way. And that's kind of the fun of post-production is sort of like making sure, you have the chance to go in and make sure that the show builds appropriately and that it has the right pace. and that it has the right sort of breaks in the action and the chance to storytell, and then the chance to get back into the action. And sometimes you're lucky, but we actually could have given those 3 matches a couple minutes each, tightened them up in post and made them made every second of it usable. But they did such a good job that I can't complain. I mean, they took a 12-minute match, and they were so into it, and the pace was so intense and so fast and so quick that they just finished sooner than we wanted them to.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked it because the way I was looking at it, like I was looking at as the Black Lotus Triad, like the first one was there to kind of, like be recon for the rest of the Black Lotus Triad to go against Pentagon. So naturally, that match was going to be a little bit shorter. Like I did like how I thought Pentagon was going to break all of their arms. I really
thought he
did.
was going to run the gauntlet.
I thought he was gonna run the gambit, and then Black Lotus herself was gonna be the one to take him out. Like any good villain, like let your henchman get knocked out, and then you sneak in for the win. But
but how do you put anybody after EO? I mean, Jesus, it's sort of like, who wants to follow that, right?
Yeah,
poor Angela has been less active in the last 4 years. She's we didn't want to put her in a position where she was going to have to follow arguably the best female wrestler in the world, and try and top. You can't top that.
Yeah, and her diving off Dario's office.
Oh my God, that was awesome. Yeah, and it wasn't a drop off Dario's office. She jumped up and then came down.
Oh yeah, like that wasn't in Helico. That wasn't in Helico like doing a diagonal. That was like, oh, we're going to jump up and come down.
She was fearless. I mean, when Chris called and told me about her when he saw her the first time, he's like, she's Japanese female Phoenix. She's exactly like Phoenix in a cute little Japanese version of Phoenix, and she is. That's whose style I would say she is the closest resembling is Phoenix. And she trained in Mexico. She spoke Spanish. When they were putting that match together with Pentagon, there was English, there was Japanese, there was Spanish, but Pentagon spoke to her almost primarily in Spanish, and she was speaking back to him in Spanish. So she's done a lot of training, lucha training, and they really put that match together in a very cool way. And that finisher she'd never done before. Certainly never done it with a man. So watching them practice that was terrifying because it took them a few tries to get that right.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's she used like a Yoshi Tonic, right? Basically, or like a destroyer.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. And the same one she used on him in Aztec Warfare. And I don't think she'd done that before, so they had to practice it a few times.
Well, it definitely exciting. Looked like she had been doing it a while.
As a pro, she came through when the red light was on. She came through.
Mm-hmm. And I love the symmetry of Dragon Azteca coming out after Pentagon had been completely broken.
Right.
And then
picking the bones.
Yeah, like literally picking a different bone.
Yeah.
And are we going to get more from Dragon Azteca and Black Lotus? Because that doesn't seem done. That was one of the things about Aztec Warfare, Ultima Lucha 2, where we were all like, oh, really wanted to see that.
Well, I'll say that. I think that you're going to see more of Azteca and Rey Mysterio are going to have their hands full for a while. Okay. I'll just say that. The last thing they need to be worried about right now is Black Lotus, because they have a much bigger, nastier, angrier person coming after them right now.
And that, of course, would be Famous B.
Vinny Massaro.
Yes. Okay, all right. Oh, man. So, the Jeremiah and Katrina thing.
Yeah.
Was that always in the cards when you were going to bring Jeremiah in, or did that happen because of Ivalice's injury?
No, I think that was always in the cards. I mean, I think that, I didn't know much about Jeremiah at all. Chris Joseph said, "Hey, look, we got to take a look at this guy. I think he's special. I think there's something there." And really went to bat for him and said, "Look, there's something here, and we just need to, give him the opportunity to really shine and show what he can do." And he has a good, obviously, his relationship with Katrina is a good entry point, to for other people. And he gets into the mix in a really terrifying way.
That's ominous. I love it.
I know. I mean, I don't want to. I'm certainly not. I really don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But he has a couple of matches coming up in the second half of season 3 that are just like out of control. Like out of control. Like I think that the two of the bigger additions that we made in season 3 were Jeremiah and Dante Fox, or AR Fox, and like those two, I lost more sleep over those two than I think anybody else on the roster. They bring such an element of danger that it is kind of terrifying, and some of the stuff that they do and some of the risks that they take, are really scary. And I'm constantly like, and they oh, no big deal, this is easy, I do this on the indies all the time, but you constantly have to pull them aside and say, hey, you don't have to take these risks here, okay? You're gonna be booked the same regardless. You don't have to act like this. You don't have to do this crazy stuff. So but those two really, I think they are inspired by the opportunity to perform in front of our fans there, and it's a competitive locker room. These guys are constantly trying to it's a high bar in there, and if you want to get if you want to wow the rest of the guys, you really have to bring it, and sometimes too much so. And so we always want to make sure that they're taking care of themselves first. But
right.
These guys are ballsy.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. You can tell that especially when there's multiple people in the ring at once, you can always tell there's a bit of one-upsmanship going on.
Yeah, and when you don't work people every day, you're not working them and touring them and doing whatever, and you say you have these 2 weekends to be ready to go. These guys come in and they're ready. And they're like, look, 1 hour is not a lot of time, and there's no matches that are ever used for filler. And so when you say, look, you're the first, second, or the third match of episode whatever, they take that seriously, and they they don't hold anything back. They don't know when they're going to get that spot again. It's not a 3-hour show with lots of fillers. So when they get a chance to shine, these guys are going to take it. I mean, these guys are hungry, and they have a chip on their shoulder, and they want to show the world that they're just as good as anybody in any other federation. And it's that competitive spirit that I think the fans really pick up on.
All right. So I know we didn't do the Bueno, Malo, and Cambio for this week, but I just saw this. Because I want to try and get a little bit out for the upcoming stuff. But
okay,
if you had a Bueno, a Malo, and a Cambio that you can tease for the rest of season 3. Like maybe one thing that you think came out really well, one thing that maybe didn't come out so well, and one thing you might like to change.
Okay, I'll say oh man.
I had to try and get something out of you.
No, and these might be a little sort of cliche.
You can be as vague as you want to. It's fine. We're still gonna analyze everything. So
I would say the Bueno for season 3, and I'm gonna categorize it as the biggest surprise.
Okay.
And I'm gonna have to give it to Dante. Okay. He kind of snuck in and blew everybody away season 3. You haven't even seen barely the tip of the iceberg. And that's not to say that everybody else doesn't do great and isn't amazing. And Ultima Lucha 3 is going to leave your jaw on the floor. It's like it still gives me nightmares, and I saw it, in June. But I think he steals the show a little bit.
Wow. Okay.
And I will say the Malo is the U.S. Immigration and Customs. Who are constantly causing Lucha Underground difficulties. We have a parent company who is MGM Television, and MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, the parent company. They have a very strict business and legal affairs department, and if we don't have everything buttoned up from the immigration team and the immigration department, guys can't get into the country. And I think that was the biggest obstacle in season 3 is nobody was allowed to show up on our set unless they had the perfect visa and the right visa. And when you're dealing with wrestlers, and God bless wrestlers, I love them all, but sometimes they're less organized than people of other walks of life.
No.
Shocking. I know, shocking. And so that sometimes required some last minute wiggling. That sometimes you're like, oh well, we survived it, but it could have been, what. And look, you probably as a fan will never see those seams. You'll never really know where that happened. But if I were just to overlook this, if I was to look back on season 3 and say, what was our malo? I would say it's the customs, immigration and customs, and the cambio. I would okay. If I were to change one thing, I would have had a longer shooting window because, when we first did season 1, we were doing one show a day, and then in season 2, we're like, oh, let's see if we can do 2 shows a day, and then season 3. We said, hey, let's see if we can get 5 in one weekend. Okay. That was our breaking point. Like, that was when I said, okay, one too many injuries. The crowd started to die. It went from 7 or 8 shows in a taping to 11 or 12 shows in a taping. And it just, I think it taxed our audience a little too much. It taxed our talent a little too much. Guys were having to go, twice in a weekend, and that was pretty rare before. And there was even a couple of times where someone went like twice in a day, and that had never happened before. And I think we learned our lesson that was the, obviously we don't have as much money as everybody seems to think we do. And we were trying to find ways to economize, and we pushed it a little too far in season 3. And for season 4, when we get the official pickup, we will pull that back, and we will never do more than 2 episodes in a day.
So maybe season 2 would be my like the sweet spot. Season 2
was as far as the tapings, but then I would say season 2 was not the sweet spot in that the episode order was 26 and not 40. And it's a lot easier to have 40 episodes to play with than 26. It felt a little rushed in some spots, and I think 40 episodes. 10 tape weekends, I think we're zeroing in on what works for us, and I think that's where we're going to be in season 4.
Alrighty. So talking about Lucha Underground as a whole, I know you guys talked about a little bit at New York Comic Con. Is there any further updates as to like maybe some house shows?
We're looking at some stuff in the spring. Okay. We're talking to a tour promoter as well. There's really not much more since 2 months ago. Okay. But the this little sort of mini thing that we did with cricket, sort of gave everybody a good look at, okay, well, with very little promotion and very little notice, we were able to bring in a pretty good audience. For Saturday afternoon at the Tamale Festival in Escondido, we were able that was like, we had a pretty low bar as far as like, hey, let's go see what we can draw, at noon on a Saturday, in the middle of nowhere, and we did well with it. I mean, our fans are loyal, and they come out, they show up, and when given a chance, they will show up. Houston was a crazy full show, so I think that at least made people feel comfortable that just because somebody doesn't have the El Rey network doesn't mean that they're not conscious of Lucha Underground.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think that was something that we had to kind of show our partners. I think that everybody is very slow in approaching these bigger steps, but we're getting there. I think we're starting to feel confident, and I think season 4 has really got to be a make or break for us. I mean, I think we really have to sort of step on the gas when it comes to touring and merchandise and a second or a third way of seeing the episodes. I mean, I think if you put it out there right now, the eyeballs are more important to us than the money. If we can grow the eyeballs, the money will follow.
I mean, if you guys put it on a streaming service I don't have, I would absolutely get it. Like, I know it's on Sling right now, but like, if you guys had like Hulu or Amazon or something like that, it would.
I mean, our goal is to put it on a streaming service that everybody has.
Yeah.
So we're still working on that.
Excellent.
Hashtag.
Hashtag Lucha Underground Netflix.
Yeah.
What? I didn't say it.
Don't say it.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
That's not dead. Just
yes.
so you know. Okay.
Excellent. Right. So I have 3 questions about the season to come, and you don't have to answer them.
I mean, the season that we shot, or
the stuff that's coming up.
Oh God!
Because there are 3 things in my brain that I'm so I need to know.
Okay,
good things.
What do you got?
Okay, how is one inhabited by a god?
You have to prepare your vessel.
Oh man. Okay.
I don't even know what that means.
I mean, Cage looks pretty prepared for anything. If I had to make a bet,
there's some batshit crazy stuff coming up.
Are we gonna see like sacrificial lambs and everything like that?
I'm not gonna tell you who. I can't tell you that, but that whole storyline goes to some weird, violent places.
Does it have anything to do with that Cobra temple that we still haven't seen yet?
Oh, you'll see that soon enough. No, that doesn't.
Okay.
But there's some more murders coming up ahead on episodes to come. There'll be plenty of graphic violence.
Okay. Good. So I will try and get a Lucha Underground death pool together.
Oh, good.
What we will, you know what? Before next week's Mayhem show, I'm going to put everyone on the roster of Lucha Underground. We are going to make a Deadpool, and everyone's going to vote as to who they think is going to die.
That would be a fun game, actually. That would be a fun game. You got to put all the characters in it.
I will put everyone in there.
Wrestling and non-wrestling.
Oh no! You didn't. Don't kill Melissa Santos. Please don't kill Melissa Santos. She's so nice.
Cage would have a problem with that.
I would imagine so.
No, we can't kill Melissa. We love Melissa. And Melissa, I'm going to give you an exclusive, Mad Mike.
Okay.
All right. My other show is The Celebrity Apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we've shot a season with Arnold Schwarzenegger as the new host. And no, Arnold Schwarzenegger will not be running for president, so we won't have that to deal with. But
is he the guy in the limo on Lucha Underground? Please. That would be amazing.
I'm going to get him there to the temple. But Melissa is part of the Celebrity Apprentice coming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's an exclusive.
That's really awesome. I may have to watch Celebrity Apprentice.
She's not a contestant, but she is a cast member.
Okay. All right. That's awesome.
All right. And that's an exclusive. That's a Mad Mike exclusive there.
Now she's associated with 2 Terminators.
That's right. That's right. The real one and the 2016 version of yeah. Yes, you will see if you tune in January 2nd, and you will see on the new Celebrity Apprentice, and you will see Melissa Santos.
Awesome, excellent. So, Mayhem Show fans of Melissa Santos, Celebrity Apprentice, definitely. What was the last thing I was going to ask about? Oh, is Dagger dead? We have not seen Dagger for a long time, and I'm starting to fear for his safety a little bit.
Yeah, you and me both.
Because it seems like I'm just wondering if Cobra Moon succeeded in seducing him and then ate him whole like a boa constrictor. That's what I'm picturing.
And that may be the case. We haven't shot that yet, but now that you've said that, maybe that's a way to explain it. No, I don't know. We love Daga. Daga's cool. When I was talking about my previous Malo, he was one of the casualties of the previous Malo.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we'd love to work it out, and we're trying to work it out.
Okay.
But yeah, we kind of semi-killed him, and maybe he has to come back in a different form.
Okay. So maybe it was like
but,
the
you know, maybe
Daga storyline subplan with Drago a little bit.
there was some last minute scramble on the Dagger character, but we haven't given up. I mean, yeah, I think we said that he was has suffered a consequence, but in Lucha Underground, you know, you never know what could happen.
Okay, and the final thing,
yeah,
the guy in the limo that we've been calling Dr. Claw.
Okay, I like that
because Inspector Gadget. It just
course.
seemed like it. Are we going to get to see him in season 3, or is it going to be like one of those teases that will be in season 4?
What would you guess?
I would guess that you guys, and it doesn't matter what you guys do because I'm still gonna want to watch. I'm hoping we see him like at the end of Ultima Lucha Tres. That's what I'm hoping.
Interesting theory. I mean, look, I obviously can't spoil it.
Of course, yeah, no, but I mean,
but you know, we've always sort of we embraced the long con, as they say. I'll just say that he's not showing up next week.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't think next week.
But that doesn't mean his presence isn't felt and known, and is, you know, a part of the storyline. It just means the actual person may not be established anytime soon.
Okay. All right.
Fair enough.
Oh man, I'm just gonna be thinking about that then. All right. So before we wrap up here, who do you think so far in season 3 has been your MVP? Because I love Dario still, obviously, but I've loved the Matanza matches. I thought he had a lot of really fun matches against a lot of opponents I didn't expect.
And I think that's that's the Dario's Dala Doom gimmick. You know, you don't have to build it up. You can just roll the dice and throw anyone in there. And the locker room is always very tense when that dial's going around. You just never know who it's going to be.
Do they know? No, I'm sure they probably know, but like the person who's wrestling Matanza knows, but does the rest of the locker room know who it's going to be?
Look, they're well, I mean, yeah, of course.
Okay, I was just making sure. You never know. Because I always want, like, when that wheel was spinning, I wanted there to just be like a huddle in the Lucha Underground locker room, whatever that would, with everyone just watching, like, just following the wheel going round and
then everybody turns to the guy whose name turns over and gives him a big pep talk and a pat on the back and sends him out.
I don't know why. I think that would be so weird because the Lucha Underground locker room looks so filthy and disgusting.
If you could see the real Lucha Underground locker room, you'd be so disappointed. It's just a big like office room that we've put sofas and chairs in and a big monitor, and like that back office is so gross, and like the production office, that building is just so gross, but we love it. It's like it's home to us now. We had a homeless person living in a locked office that we didn't even know was there the entire first season. And that's not bullshit. That's true. There was an office that had said like storage on it, and it had a padlock on it, and we just figured, okay, it's the owner has got some homeless guy had made it his home, and he would sit in there. He would sit in there on the weekends, and I think he would just quietly sit in there while we were working. And then he would come out late at night, and he would go to our craft service table, or he would go use our bathrooms. And we finally figured out he was in there. We went in there, and it was piles of our craft service wrappers and stuff like in the corner. And none of us, he'd been there the whole time. We had no idea. It was one of the weirdest things that had ever happened.
And now he's the man in the limousine.
Exactly. And that man's name is Famous B.
4, 2, 3, fame.
But yeah, I mean, that's just a really weird building, and the whole thing is so strange, and it's perfect, and we wouldn't want it any other way at this point.
Alrighty. Well, is there anything else that you want to mention about Lucha Underground before we wrap up?
Nope. Just grateful that everybody enjoys the show and is patient with us, and that gives it a chance. And the fans are fantastic, and we're really this back stretch of season 3 is batshit crazy. And buckle up; it's going to be a fun ride, and we'll probably keep you very entertained, and probably occasionally piss you off, but give you a reason to tune in at least every week. And so, and thank you, Mad Mike and the rest of the Midweek War. You guys were one of the early ones who jumped on the Lucha Underground hype train, and we all enjoyed the banter between you and your cohorts, and we watched it and got a kick out of it and appreciate the sport. And please, anytime you want to come to LA when we're taping, you got to come on. You got to come see it in person.
Trust me, if New York wasn't so far from LA, I was praying you guys were doing something during Comic-Con.
Yeah.
when I was out in San Diego. But I did get to meet Pentagon.
Well, we'll get you there eventually, and have Sorg send you out. I mean, isn't it a work expense or something like that?
No.
Come on.
We don't make any money on this podcast.
It's a rip-off. Come on.
Yeah, but that is literally the only thing on my wrestling bucket list at this point, is to get to the temple.
You let us know, and you will be front and center, and we'll let you sit on Melissa's lap.
I do not want to die at the hand of Cage, so I appreciate that offer.
All right, but you can, any seat in the house is yours.
Okay, all right, excellent. I'll say also a Vampiro.
Okay, good.
But and I wanted to thank. I don't know if you guys had anything to do with it, but I was on the Lucha Underground Marathon.
Cool,
that was awesome. Yeah. I unfortunately was working during it, but
you didn't see it or a tape of it. You probably saw it on.
I got a screen cap of it. I haven't been able to see the video of it, but yeah, I was
you were good. Look, that was like all our fans. Like, I loved those little interstitials. They they were some of the real fans of the show, and it was fun that they put those together. And the social media team and the team at El Rey, like, you couldn't ask for a better network to work for. I mean, I tell you, I've worked for lots of networks. There's nobody like El Rey. They get so behind us, and their team is so supportive, and they're constantly doing things to promote the show. I mean, we're putting on some sort of thing this Saturday at the Martial Arts Hall of Fame out in Burbank somewhere this weekend. We're donating a Pentagon Dark costume to exhibit in the Martial Arts Hall of Fame out in the valley somewhere. And we're doing a panel, and we're showing an episode. And so anybody who sees this, come out to, and I fucked up. I should have had the information on this. In fact, if you, I won't wait while I try and dig it out. But Google it. We will be showing up at the Martial Arts Hall of Fame Saturday afternoon, and it's somewhere in the San Fernando Valley, and it's going to be good. We're going to have some speakers and donate some stuff and screen an episode. So any Lucha Underground fans should come check that out.
All right, excellent. Well, that sounds awesome. I love that there's going to be a Pentagon.
But that's our El Rey family. They're constantly finding stuff to promote the show, and reasons to promote the show, and things for the fans to come check out and be engaged in. And they're really just the greatest network. And if you don't get El Rey and you don't watch El Rey, then I feel sorry for you, because it's one of the funnest networks on television right now.
Well, I mean, if they ever wanted to see how widespread their outreach was here, I know a lot of New York fans would love anything Lucha Underground related.
We will be there. I
Yes.
promise you, Mike.
I can't wait.
You'll be front row.
Oh yeah, because I had to sit through an entire Sailor Moon panel just to get second row.
You were lucky enough to sit through the Sailor Moon panel.
No, I had to sit through the whole thing just to get second row at the Lucha Underground panel.
That was my first Comic-Con experience. It was out there. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, New York fans can be a little insane.
It was a great panel. We had a great time. It was so fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the fans were great. Fans were great.
Alrighty, and I'm gonna do rankings this week. I haven't finished NXT yet. Haven't watched Impact yet. Lucha's number one. I'm gonna take a guess, gonna take a guess, an educated guess. I've heard a few things that happen on Impact. I saw most of NXT. Lucha's number one because it was awesome. It was a lot of Pentagon Dark. I mean,
Yeah.
I've met the man. If I didn't give him number one this week, he would find me and break my arm, even without arms.
It's one of my favorite all-time episodes as well. And when you reached out to me to do this, I said, let's wait till that episode 13 airs, because that's the one I want to talk about. It was such a fun one. There was so much fun backstory in that one. And when it came together, we were all just marking out like just total wrestling geeks. It was so fun. And, you know, yeah, it's the only show I watch too. So I'm gonna rank it number one as well.
Excellent. All right. Okay, so where can the good people find you on the internet, Eric?
I guess I don't tweet much, just so you know, and when I do, I get in trouble. So I try to keep my tweeting to a minimum. But you can find me at Eric Van Wagenen, I suppose, and I promise I won't bother you too much.
And you can also follow, of course, at Lucha El Rey.
Lucha El Rey is a much better choice.
Yes, or even at El Rey Network.
Yeah, at El Rey. And watch the Celebrity Apprentice January 2nd on NBC, 8 o'clock. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. And, of course, you can find me at MadMike4883 on the Twitter machine. I live tweet Lucha Underground every single week with the hashtag that we spoke about, MM. So, yeah, just follow us at Mayhem Show. Hit us up on the Facebook page. If there's something you want to talk about with Lucha Underground, email us at goodtimes@wrestlingmayhemshow.com. And, yeah, so I guess that's it. So, for everyone, thank you, Eric, for coming on this show, for waiting for me to get out of my crazy toy schedule to talk about some awesome ninja skeletons breaking pretty ladies' arms.
Happy to be on La Guerra de Mediados de Semana.
Yes, and that is Spanish for the Midweek War.